Well, hey, great day to you all. I hope that you were all able to wake up this morning super grateful to be alive. Again, another day in this experience. And I hope you all set that high vibe for yourself, telling yourself that you're all amazing and you're capable, and you're smart, you're strong, you're healthy, you're healed, you're whole, you're enough. And I really hope that you are consciously, intentionally creating your state of being. Now, I've got a lot to drop with you guys today because, again, my learning is always intense. And the more I revisit things, is the more I find deeper understandings to it all. And it's a must that I come out and share it all because that's what my life is all about, is learning. Nothing but, just like everybody's life is supposed to be. But this morning's message that was channeled to me when I was grounding was to be shared to the world, was you must trust your intuition before it makes sense to you. Now, what does that really mean? Well, our intuition is a gut knowing. It comes from our fuel of life. And when your gut is telling you something, but you're not listening, well, then it'll never make sense. Because anything that we live now is preparing us for what's to come. And there has been a real shift on the planet. And I'm proud to say it. So, yesterday I didn't make it out here to do a live because the universe had other plans for me. And what was that? Well, I'd like to proudly say that with this shift on the planet, we're uniting forces, just like as we've been told that to answer the call. Well, we've all had the call. So more than ever now, my impact is going to be felt anytime I come out here for teaching. Why? Because I must step it all up for you guys. And today, before I get into it, I do want to do a special little thing here because I do want to continuously promote that amazing radio station, CFQR 600 AM. It's got amazing listening all day long. But if you want to hear some soca sound, you can daily from 9 to 11 p.m. So a huge shout out to CFQR 600 AM, an amazing radio station. And I encourage you all to go and have a listen if you're in the Montreal listening area. Before I get into it more so, I have a special birthday shout out. A special birthday shout out to the founder of Savage Protein Balls Ottawa. Happy birthday. Unfortunately, I can't answer the door right now. Sorry. I guess I'm being knocked at, but I'm live, so I won't be answering the door. So anyway, like I was saying, I want to promote Savage Protein Balls Ottawa. A special happy birthday shout out. Listen, they're healthy, all natural protein snacks. If you're into bodybuilding or you're into the protein snacks, please go check her out. She's a fellow Earth Angel and she makes them with love. So they're unlike anything you'll find out there. All right. And on that same note, I want to talk about Woodside soaps. Guys, all natural, handcrafted, made with love. Check out the soaps, okay? www.woodsidesoaps.ca. Check that stuff out. The reason why I let you guys all know about, number one, the radio station, it's because I love it myself. The protein balls, hey, something you want to check out if you're into healthy eating and all natural foods. Down to washing, hey, check out the soaps, all natural, always offering something unique and nice in any experience of it. Now I want to get into my stuff for you today, some intense learning. Now, I've mentioned many, many times along my learning path that in order to understand energy and master myself, I'm an empowered empath now, but Dr. Joe Dispenza was a really huge influence in my learning. So much so that during my years of isolation, I would religiously listen to him to literally retrain my brain. Now, it comes to a point where I speak about the point of when I had my full-on spiritual awakening. And he talks about, in order for it to happen, you have to become nothing, no one, no time, and no space. You release yourself of any identity in order to break through your ego and have that ego death for once and for all, right? But in my recent learning, what I've realized is the correlation between what I come out and tell you guys about your truest, highest potential of your being and what you believe to be true about yourself is two different things. Now, I'm going to use that as an example, okay? When you're born in your purest, natural state of your being, now, you don't have any thoughts about yourself. Not at all. You don't have any thoughts about others. You're actually just operating out of your truest, highest state. Now, who is that? Well, you may be given your name at birth, but do you believe that's who you are from birth? No, you don't. You don't believe anything about yourself at that point. You're constructed to believe everything that you believe about yourself by what somebody else told you to believe. So that is the farthest thing from who you truly are, factually. So how does this happen? Well, what are some of the first things that rip you away from being who you genuinely are? Your energy has a unique signature that does not change throughout your life. It's your print of your being in this existence. It's like your unique thumbprint, actually. You have a unique energy signature on the planet because you're energy first. And we're all unique. And we're all here according to what we have decided to come here for. We had intentions to be born, whether you realize it or not, whether you've forgotten it or not, which is normal because being born, you will forget about it. But, I highly believe in my heart that there's a misconception of us not believing it automatically. It's because we are conditioned and programmed to believe something else about ourselves, which is a distortion to who we really are. How does it happen? Well, what is the first thing that we hear the most of in our first years of life? No, 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 no. And then we hear about, after the no phase, right? What else do we hear as a child? Do it like this. Do it like that. Now, all of these do it like this and do it like that came from people that were not unconditionally loving themselves. Never mind you. So their programming came from handed down generational belief systems. Their beliefs came from the handed down trauma that nobody talks about. Their belief systems of how they convinced you to be and how they were living come from things that were, don't talk about it. How can things be corrected if they can't be vocalized and expressed and always bottled up? They can't be. And we believe that we're tied to all of these belief systems and traditions and ways of being, and all of the shame and the guilt and the blame and the judgment that's attached to all of that too. Well, the same way that you're unaware that your body, how it works, is the same way you're unaware of everything that's been leaked down in your ancestry, unless you dug it all up and looked. Well, all of that is still affecting you today in your physical being right now. So who are you really? Well, initially, before you believe any of what you're being told, you're nobody. You're nothing, in no time, and in no space, and living heartfully out of the present moment. That's what you're born to do. So when Dr. Joe Dispenza was saying about you have to become nobody, nothing, in no time, in no space, I believe he had understood about the truest nature of our being to unlock the true wisdom. But now I've understood a deeper meaning. Actually, yes, I have overstood a deeper meaning to it all. Meaning that is our truest nature. We are all one. And this is where the misconception comes into it for all. That everybody thinks they're having a unique experience and they're not. You and I are of the same thing. We're just separated by our free will choices and beliefs. Who do I believe myself to be? The purest expression of the Most High and source creation. Nothing but. I don't have a self. See, that's the difference. I sacrificed myself to be fueled by source. What is that true sacrificial of self? Giving up all of those belief systems that don't belong to you. Because if you really take a look at what you believe today, how much of that did you choose for yourself? None of it. And why have you sought outward approval and acceptance and love, and you've wanted to people please all your life, and it's driven you into depression or anxiety or illness? Well, because from when you started to stand up and take your first steps and try to discover and learn, you were told no, 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 no. And since then, you have been conditioned to learn what you've learned and to believe what you've believed. No matter what. No matter who you are. So there's levels of consciousness, but there's also frequencies of your being. Like I was saying, you have a unique signature on the planet. Well, until you take your outward focus on everything else outside of you and take a look at the frequency that you're emitting on your own, you'll never be able to fix your energy or what you believe to be right about yourself. And if you're running on belief systems from everybody else, well, then you don't really know your true self because you're believing the stories that have been installed in you. So you are running on an ego, especially if you're trying to, defend my name and, defend my self-identity and defend who I think I should be or who I am. It's all a crock, factually. Because the highest potential of your being, you are nobody and nothing in no time and in no space, just present right now and being. That's it. And in that place, you have nothing to defend. And you have no outward validation to seek because you have nothing to uphold. And I want to remind you guys, you see this identity of self that ego has created in everybody else, but you has created your identity? Well, I'd like you to know you've been protecting that at every cost, with every excuse in the book attached. The real ego death is when you realize that it's not who you are. And it has been governing your whole life, factually. So this is not something that you acquire. This kind of consciousness is in you all the time. We are born with Christ consciousness. Each and every one of us. Now, how we get ripped away from it is because we're put in a box and constructed to be what everybody else wanted us to be. And if we didn't conform, well, there was a backlash. And everything was to induce fear. How many times did our parents operate their parenting out of fear-based decisions? Oh, don't do that because this is going to happen. Oh, don't do that. This is going to happen. Oh, well, I think you should do this with your life. And I think you should do that. No matter what you choose, you're wrong. And, well, that's not the way you act. You must act like this. You must act like that. You must speak like this. You must do that. You must do this. When you realize that that is what your belief system is constructed of, you're going to highly take a look at what you believe about yourself to be real. Because right now you believe you are your name and your experience and everything else attached to it that doesn't even exist. The only thing that exists is right now. And everything is happening, all of it right now, and nothing but. And it is forever like that. And what we choose to do with the now is a simple mere choice. But what are you doing with your now? Are you operating your now on belief systems total contrary to who you are truly? According to what everybody else made you believe you are? Or have you tapped into the love of your heart and really know who you are? And why do I say it like that? Because your heart knows. And if all of your belief systems that you believe to be real about yourself don't sit right with you, well, that's how you know they have to be corrected. But unless you sit with yourself and your belief systems and the belief systems that have leaked down through the generations, you won't know. And you won't correct it. And you will run on an automatic repeat according to these beliefs. Well, your beliefs are what produces your thoughts, which again, you were trained to have. I want you guys to understand when you were in your purest, highest potential, you weren't thinking about anything. And that's why I can proudly say at this point of consciousness, I don't have to think. My heart governs my being and so does source and the whole universe. Why? Because there is no self. Yes, I may be living the experience in the now, but there is no self. My name is a mere title for others to call me. Literally. But who I am now is no longer a construct of what everybody else made me to be. And this is the difference between operating from your purest, highest potential or not. That's how come I can come out here truthfully and raw and just say it like it is. because I have no ego controlling me. I have source controlling me. And on that note, I would just like to proudly announce that we've won. And the dark knows it. So, this leads me to another conversation. There's a combination of duality within you, of the divine feminine and the divine masculine. Well, as above, so below. So if you have a divine creation of feminine and masculine within you, well, that's also a reflection of creation. On that note. And on another note of that, when Moses asked, "What is your name?" and the breath of life, or I am, well, that is the duality of creation. Okay. Now, another thing to drop for you guys all. I've been telling you guys since last September that if you don't know who Metatron is, the scribe of the earth, the heavens, you better go figure that out. I have told you guys for months what to go research and find answers to tap back into what is fueling you for life. See, there's a comment. I don't know who it is. Let me pull it up. Absolutely. There, Andy. Hey, Andy. I love you, girl. Now, what you guys also have to understand is who Thoth is. I'd like you guys also to go look up Tiamat. Now, who's Tiamat? Well, she is the mother of the gods. And she is responsible for the salt waters. Okay? Because when she was coming to install, I love you too, Earth Angel. When she was coming to install the emerald tablets of destiny, she was killed in the process. Well, this shift in humanity is to reinstall those tablets. Okay? Now, on that note, a lot of people think it's a myth about 144,000 earth angels, but it is not. So I'll explain that too. There are 72,000 divine masculine, and there are 72 divine feminines. That once all of the 72,000 earth angel divine feminines are activated and awakened fully, they will merge with their divine counterparts. Why? Because it is written in the heavens to do so. Why? To be the forefront of the example for humanity of what love looks like. Because there is no more darkness to be inoperational of the generations to come. This shift in humanity is real. Even the darkness knows it. We're born as one still. And very, very highly connected to all of our highest potential. Until we were made to believe it was wrong to operate like that. Well, I'm here to tell you today that that is the only way to operate now. And it's a simple choice and commitment to do so. Not to me, but to yourself, who committed to come during these times in the greatest shift of humanity. You owe me nothing, but you owe your own soul a lot. And you can't do it for anybody because nobody else matters, because nobody else is accountable for the things that you choose to do, think, say, or inflict on another, but yourself. But I can highly guarantee you that if you are talking down on yourself or anybody else, or you are inflicting any kind of negativity, shameful, blameful, judgmental, guiltful, anything that you choose to do as a frequency within your own being, you will feel the effects of in an elevated way right now. Because you're either on an upward spiral with the universe, or you are on a downward spiral by choice. And all of that depends on what you believe to be real in your reality. Imagine. But I'd like to remind you guys all again today that your belief systems have been put there by every single person but yourself. Until you decide to construct some belief systems. This is why you must let the old self die to create a new being for yourself. You cannot create a new life or new ways unless you let that old part of you that created that for yourself to die out. To die out. As I have, as Andy said. Okay, it's not a joke about the merging of the divine partners, because it's as above, so below. And a lot of people don't believe it, but it's facts. Well, how you see things and how you see yourself creates your whole reality, no matter who you are, what you're doing. So, if your original state of being is you are nobody and you are nothing, in no time, in other words, time does not govern you, it doesn't exist in your reality. So, what do I mean by being nobody? Well, how long did you live believing you were anybody, not anybody? Like, how old were you when you started believing you were your name and you were everything that everybody told you were? Like, okay, you're too much, like I was told. Or you're not going to amount to anything. Or you're not going to have anything in life. Or you must work hard to acquire money. Oh, you must love these people even if they're abusing the shit out of you. Oh, you must accept people to talk down to you all the time. Oh, you must accept. No, you don't. No, you don't. Why have you been trying to please people all your life? Because we started trying to please our parents. Okay? We started first by trying to be loved and approved of by our own families. So we conformed to what they wanted from us. So this is how the pattern's set in motion. This is how the people pleasing starts. It initially starts by trying to please your parents because they always told you no from the beginning. So that's where the confusion lies, okay? Because how different would your life have been if you were fueled to be who you authentically were meant to be? What does that mean? Well, how different would your experience been if you were asked your opinion and what you felt in your heart to be right to govern your choices? Yes, I get that we're, until a certain age, our parents have to govern our life. But how was our life governed? So this is what you have to take a look at. Because all of that stuff that's stored in your brain as who you are is blocking you from tapping into your highest potential, which is your purest natural state of being, which is what exactly? You are nothing. There's no identity there. Your ego protects your identity that has been created by somebody else. All these emotional reactions that you believe you have, it's because you've been conditioned to believe, number one, you're supposed to react like that. And number two, what you're feeling is according to what everybody's put a label on it. That's a distortion to the truth. Nobody else can tell you what you feel. Well, can you be true to that? Because I can be true to that. And that's why I stand up for myself. And no, nobody's going to tell me who I am. And nobody's going to tell me what I'm thinking or feeling. That's mine, uniquely. And that's why nobody else is going to tell me what I must do. Because I'm tapped into the authentic me. That selfless, powerful soul who came here to do exactly what she's doing right now. Is to assist with the rewriting of humanity and the shift of the world. No matter who thinks that I'm not here to do it, it doesn't matter. It is not a reputation I'm trying to uphold. It is my way of life at this point. That's why, with Source in the universe backing it, it cannot be stopped. And you must get to my level of consciousness in order to try to be able to touch me. And this is another thing. This is the same reason why I can't feel love in human form right now. Because it's all of conditional love and bullshit and garbage. It's not real love. How do I know the difference? Because I embody real love. That binds us all as one, here in the now, having one experience, all happening at once. And that's all that exists, is right now. And whatever I choose to create in my now, all I have to do is will it from my lower chakras, will it with my power, because my power is under my will. So push the power up to my will it up to my heart, pull out my heart's desires, will it into my brain. The brain's job is to make it real. And that's it. It's as simple as that. With no distortion of belief systems planted in my garden by everybody but me. That's the difference. So, who do you believe yourself to be today? Are you your name and your credentials and you have a reputation to uphold? Because if I strip that away from you right now, who really are you? If you're governing your identity on what you have outside of you in your bank account, if I took it all away today, who are you? If you were to lose absolutely everything around you, who are you? When you drop your physical shell, who are you? What was fueling that physical shell for this experience? And I've asked a lot of people, who are you? Oh, I'm like, I don't even want to repeat the shit that people tell me attached to their name. With all their states of beings that they choose to embody. And all of their crippling, destructive words about their own self. If they're destroying themselves with their thoughts and their talks, please don't speak about me. But hey, even if you do at this point, all you're doing is fueling me. Because I take any of that that's being thrown my way and instantly transmuted. So I'm not worried about that. But I highly suggest you don't hand me your life force by letting me live rent-free in your head. Because with every thought you have about me, I'm stealing your life force freely because you're handing it to me. So every time you think something about me and every time you talk something about me, you are handing me your life force. So how could I not get more powerful by the day? Factually. That's why I'm at the point it doesn't matter who's saying what with my name attached. They're all giving me their life force. You all better be careful with that. And all I can say is everybody should be glad that I'm on the right team of things. Factually. Yes, it is. I just saw your comment there, Andy, and that was you were talking about the belief systems, I believe. You know what? I'm going to drop some things up on this screen right now for your teaching and for your learning because I've really, if it doesn't stick in now, so that you take a good look at yourself, well, then you're on that downward spiral. And nobody can save your ass. Simple. Because nobody can. You think anybody could save me? No. I had to walk the fire. I had to run the gauntlet on a daily basis for 46 years to acquire the knowledge that I have. Okay? So everybody wants this kind of knowledge. Are you ready to run the gauntlet every day to get it? Are you ready to sacrifice yourself and everything you believe about yourself to allow Source to run you? Are you ready for that? Are you ready to be authentic no matter what's in front of you? Are you ready to operate from love and nothing but? Because the feelings of your heart talking to you don't have any words. Your energy first. So what are you doing with your energy? Are you fueling it to thrive naturally like we do with no effort? Or are you fueling that for your destruction by choice alone? What's that choice? What you choose to believe about yourself, what you choose to think, say, and do. And I have been talking about this for months. And it has been falling on deaf ears as they choose to sit in destruction instead of take the learning. So those who don't hear must feel. Simple as that. I know that was one of the laws that I had to. That's why I had to run the gauntlet. Well, it's time to take a look at that because the shift is here. And the darkness is being destroyed. So you need to choose whether you are embodying the darkness or the light. Simple. And what does that truly mean? Your state of being and nothing but. It has nothing to do with your belief systems. It has nothing to do with your life and the experience of it. It has nothing to do with anything up until today that you have lived because it's non-existent. It doesn't exist. So what's the darkness that I talk about? Well, Let me pull up David Hawkins' map of consciousness to assist with that. So while I do this, you won't see my face unless I peek out of the side. But it's time for some real learning, for you to face who you are and who you choose for yourself to be. I've been talking about these lower density vibrational states. Everybody seems to be focused on their problems. The problem is your state of being. Now, it is either your energy of your heart and the security of your being and the creativeness power that you have and the up and go that you have and the heart's desires that you have and the vocalization of them that you have and the creative power of seeing and knowing that you have. Everything depends on that. It is your state that governs your life before anything. And it's all a choice. And I am extremely adamant about not accepting excuses from anybody. I've been talking about seeing energy for how it presents itself to be in your life and nothing but. I have talked about how everything presents itself as a lesson and nothing but. Well, if we're living in a matrix that's not real, number one, it's all a manipulation of, whatever it's to be. And we actually incarnated here to assist with the elevation of the frequency of the planet because of the darkness trying to take over and control and enslave all the souls. Well, it's a pretty magnificent time to be alive on this planet. And with the rewriting of humanity, let it be known. It's the reinstallation of the tablets of destiny. And I've been talking about that too. So if you guys have not looked that up, I sincerely hope you go do it. Everybody wants to talk about all of these writers and the getting rich and the doing this and the doing that. Well, you better go and look where the Hermetic principles came from Thoth, who actually created the hieroglyphics to leave a message for you all. Well, Thoth and Enoch are the same people, which are Metatron. I've told you all this too, but nobody took me seriously. So if you guys don't want to hear it all and you don't want to go and seek the learning to find the answers, you will feel the repercussions of just that. It's not for no reason that Enoch's books were taken out of the Bible, eh? It's not for no reason that he was channeled. He must share the great knowledge in those 3 books of Enoch, of creation. Well, I was instructed to do the same. That's why Turning Hell into Heaven exists, with all the ways to do it. And then your best you, the choice is yours. And then Wise Up to Rise Up, it's a must. Well, guess what? Those are the modern day books of Enoch. All right, if you want the truth. But everybody wants to stay blind to that too, in their belief systems of who they think they are and what is possible. Well, I'm here to tell you that you better annihilate that ego and get up to the times with what is here. Because I haven't been hidden in plain sight for no reason and just coming out now since January. But I came out well trained and prepped for this. And I didn't even know it. Factually. Because after those 3 books, well, then I had to channeled to do the conscious parenting, Wised and Rising. Well, then I was channeled to do the loving reminders of I am before even knowing the feminine divine I am. This is why I say you follow your intuition before it makes sense all the time. But it didn't make sense to me, but it makes sense to me now. And then the combined edition, the first three, those three books and that children's book, teaching them that everything is inside of them, all about their energy. Well, those books were channeled through me too. Did I know why at the time? No, I just knew I must do it, and I abided. Well, every one of my books have been put together from the higher power and not me. Even down to the last one, a spiritual guide to source, an all-knowing resource. And in that book, you can find all about the angels, the fallen angels, how to heal, how to do all kinds of stuff. But nobody knows about that one yet, really, because nobody takes the time to seek and learn for themselves. They blow it off, thinking that I'm here to uphold some fucking reputation. No, I'm not. I'm here to teach you all. Because humanity is being rewritten, whether you like it or not. And nothing can stop this. This has been in the works. Well, now it's happening. It's no longer just in the works. We have successfully assisted Mother Earth to ascend. We are no longer shackled to 3D density, nor will we ever be again. So I highly suggest, if you guys want to get on that ascension of the planet, you go get my books and you get on that work for yourself. Because me, I've done the work. And when I tell you Tobi no longer exists, she doesn't. Because I'll tell you, nobody would have wanted to live what she's had to live. So let that die where it should. Okay? But everybody wants the consciousness and everybody wants the knowledge, but they're not ready to walk and burn in the pit of hell for 46 years to get it and dance with the devil every goddamn day. That's why, you know something? Everybody likes to say, well, hey, she doesn't look like a healer. She doesn't look like this. She doesn't look like that. I don't need to look like anything to you all. What I carry is unlike another, and I have been in intensive training. Intensive. Well, we're rewriting humanity. What does that mean exactly? All those that want to stay shackled to the generational belief systems that are destroying you, that are no longer allowed to be infused in the generations to come, because the Most High and the creative partnership of the divine, feminine and masculine, have had enough. That's why it's happening. Well, guess what? So have I. So I don't mind bleeding this. And I don't mind fighting for what's right. Because I've felt all of the repercussions and the sufferings of all of the evil in this world. From my first breath. But still, to attain this amount of love that fuels my life, I am unlike another. And everybody who doesn't want to take me seriously, I highly suggest you start. Because I have been coming out here talking about the same thing over and over and over and over again. I told you all since November that the heightened frequency that would be the catalyst for this shift in humanity, that I have heard so many people squawk at me and tell me that I can't do that, that I'm one person. Well, do you know what one person fueled by the universe can do? Clearly not, because you're stuck in your, and let me not call out the name attached to that one, but don't worry. The higher power's on that. And don't let me sit here and call out all of the energy harvesters either that are having everybody sell their souls for knowledge that is readily available within themselves. Let me speak that too. And let me speak about everybody who is making everybody believe that everybody else has the power but their own being. "12D consciousness is here, baby, and has been for a while, and is in many of us for this exact reason. Why? Because this is where the 144K come into play. And let me tell you about that too, as I was instructed to today. What exactly is the 144K? Well, Tiamat, who is the mother of gods, she was killed while trying to attempt to install the tablets of destiny. Okay? Let's just put it that way. Well, the 144K are the original 144 of her children, the gods, that were born into creation. Now, there's all kinds of things that play out and come after in the story. But it all correlates to rewriting of humanity. Everything that everything has been governed by is to control and enslave not only the hearts, but the minds of all, according to who you believe you are and what you need to comply to and what you need to believe from your family and your friends and everybody's, the people pleasing and the, I need to be loved and approved and accepted and I'm scared to be judged. Me, I couldn't give a flying fuck about what anybody believes about me. But I certainly give a shit about what you believe about yourself. And I've seriously had enough. I don't come out here to play around with people. I couldn't play with myself when it came to this stuff, okay? So I don't plan to play with another. And I'm telling you right now, if you are not on the right spiral, you are in the way of, you're either on the path to growth or you are on the path to demise. This survival of the fittest theory that everybody's been governed by, about, you must be the best, and it's a big competition. So everybody's competing with each other. It's another bullshit. It's all lies. Listen, it works by elimination of the weakest. So what does that mean? Well, if there's a litter of dogs born, or there's a litter of whatever in nature born, and one of them is not fit to survive, the mother will eat it. Elimination of the weakest of the pack. Okay? Because the survival of the pack depends on it. You get it now? So what's the weakest right now on this planet? Well, it's all of those with the weakest frequencies and their state of being, because we're energy first. So it doesn't matter what you have. Doesn't matter who you think you are. Doesn't matter what you think you're doing in this world. All that matters is what your state of being is. So on that note, I think I'll pull up David Hawking's map of conscious for you guys, so that you can really see for yourself. So you probably won't see my face unless I peek out the side. But it's important that you understand this. All right. So now we're going to go through this together so that you fully get it, okay? And you know what? I will come over here. So, look. Now, in this chart, you're going to see at the bottom in the red. Now, these are color-coded to your chakra points, okay? So what is that exactly? Well, the bottom one in the red is your root chakra. That is the root of your being, the stump. You see at the bottom of your core, you have a core being, right? So at the bottom of your core being, you've got a root chakra, which is supposed to be of the frequency of 369 hertz to be okay and function normally. Now, if you're living in shame or guilt or apathy, the associated emotional state to this is that you are humiliated when you are shameful. So what's your view of life? You're miserable. Well, that's a distortion to your truest nature of your being. Now, if your consciousness is at a guilt level consciousness, which is a 30, well, what's the energetic frequency? It's the 30, right? So the associated emotional state to that, let's look at this. Well, you're blaming. You're in a state of blaming everything but yourself. Zero self-accountability. You're blaming the world. You're playing the victim. And your view of life is that everything's evil. And the world is an evil place to live. All right? No, the only thing that's evil is that guilt that you're holding for things that are no longer existent, actually. So let's go to apathy. So what's the associated, that's 50. So what's the associated emotional state to that, guys? Despair. So what are you feeling? What's your view of life? Well, your view of life is you got a hopeless view of life. You feel hopeless. You feel like you can't do it, and you're a lost cause, and what's the point? And okay, simple. All right, so let's see if you're in a state of grief. Well, grief doesn't just have to be from losing a loved one. Grief, you could still be grieving from losing a pet. You, as a kid, you could be grieving the fact that you didn't win an award when you felt entitled to. You could be grieving a loss of a relationship. You could be grieving a loss of, or you could be grieving the fact that you didn't feel complete or whole in a situation. So what's the emotional state that's associated with that? It's regret. So you got to regret. You regret things in your life. You regret. You live in by regret. Oh, that's a 75 frequency, eh? These states of being that you embody are the farthest thing from being okay, because you need to be okay at a 369 hertz from your root, and your crown is the opposite flow. So it reverses. Okay? So it's a 963 in your crown. So being in these states of being is actually destructive to your being and nothing but. Now, if you're living in a state of fear, so look, hold on, view of life. Look, if you're living in regret, let's finish that off before I move ahead. Well, your view of life is tragic. That your life has been a tragedy and nothing but. So you regret everything. You regret your experience. It's been so tragic for you. Wah, 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 wah. I want you to understand that these are all states created by your thoughts. Okay? And your consciousness, whether it is your subconscious or not. because all of this stuff could be running in your subconscious and you're unaware that it is automatically creating a state of being for you according to things that no longer exist, but yet you choose to hang on to give your life meaning. And that's it. All right, so you're living in fear. What's the frequency? The energetic frequency is 100. Well, you're the farthest thing from safe if you're scared of everything. So in this state of fear, which is what we are governed by in the world right now. So what are we governed by? Well, by the whole demonic system and the crown and the Vatican and everything else that has us locked into slavery and locked into this karmic loop. Well, this is all the same stuff that's got to go. Well, I'm here to assist that and stop the energy harvesting and stop the soul snatching and the dream snatching and the dream weaving. But that's another story for another day. And I'll remind everybody too, you're not allowed to play in anybody's energy against their free will without their approval. And when you do, the backlash is real. The Most High, well, the culmination of the divine feminine and masculine, has given us free will for our own choices, and they are not to be influenced by anybody. So all of these people that want to cast spells and influence things without somebody's free will, look, you may think you get away with it on this planet, but you don't. And you have to answer to it all at the end of it. I'm telling you, your life review is real. And you do not want to end up in spiritual jail because it is worse than here. Trust that. Anyway, that's another story for another day. But let's move on. Fear, 100 hertz. So what are you living in the state of fear? Well, you're always anxious. You're living in a state of anxiety. So if you were an anxious person and you claim that as your self-identity, well, what are you scared of? Because it's the fear that's fueling the anxiety. So that's when you have to look at what made you fearful as an individual, as a person, okay? So then what does this produce? You've got a view of life that's frightening. You're scared of everything. You don't want to live anything because you're scared. Okay? So you got to look at this stuff. What state are you embodying? Now, if you are in a state of desire, well, what are you desiring? Are you desiring out of lust, out of what is it that you're desiring? Because it's when you're living out of desire, it's 125 hertz. So what are you craving? You're craving to be loved. You're craving to be accepted. You're craving to be approved. You're craving to be seen. You're craving to be wanted. You're craving to be everything but. Come on, what are you craving in your life? You shouldn't be craving anything because you should know that everything is within. You have it all already. So you should not be craving anything. You should be consciously creating, whether it's your state or anything you want in your life. And as long as you're in a state of craving anything, in a need of something, you are in a state of lack. So what's your view of life? Well, you're constantly disappointed because you're constantly craving. You're never satisfied. Factually. Okay, so let's take this up a notch now. So when you're angry, it comes from your solar plexus, eh? So look, your grief, fear, and desire, conscious states, are all associated to your sacral center, your sexual creative center. So what does this mean? If you're leaving, look, according to the red at the bottom, That's your root chakra. So all of these things affect your primal security and safety as an individual, primarily. So if you are rooted in shame, guilt, apathy, well, it is a distortion to how you should truly be feeling, because you should be feeling, instead of hopeless, you should be feeling hopeful. And instead of evil, you should be feeling loving. And instead of miserable, you should be feeling content and where you should be. So let's take it up a notch to the orange now. The orange, like I've said, these color coding is a correlation to your chakra centers that are energy centers that flow through your body. Okay? Now, your states of consciousness is your own awareness of self. It has nothing to do about acquired knowledge outside of you. Your state of consciousness, your cap of comprehension, is according to your level of self-awareness and knowledge of your own being and your own energy primarily. Okay? Now, when you're talking about your creative sexual center, which is your sacral chakra, that's where the orange comes in. Now, if you're living in regret or anxiety or craving anything outside of you, well, then you are not using your creative powers to create consciously, feeling safe in doing so. So you feel guilty, and everything lowered affects it. So you will feel shameful about your sexual creativeness, which will lead you to feeling disappointed. All of this correlates, and because it all intertwines. It is like a cycle. It's all intertwines. It's all connected. So there's not one center that does not correlate to the other. Well, all of these centers are in your being. They all affect your beliefs. They all affect your thoughts, your speech, everything you think, say, and do, and what you create, consciously or not. So in the orange, it is your sacral center. Now that is your creative sexual center. Now, instead of feeling disappointed, you should be feeling fulfilled. Instead of feeling frightened, you should be feeling, I'm ready, bring it on. Instead of you're feeling tragic about your life and regretting it, you should be saying, I got no regrets. It no longer exists. It was all learning experience. Okay, now do you see the flip side to what is being shown here? Okay, now if we go up to the yellow. Now in the yellow part that you're going to see here, this has to do with your solar plexus. Okay, that's your gut. That's your will. Okay, now, why does this play a huge part? Because this is our get up and go center. The sun, it fuels us to do what we need to do. So this is where you have to know if you have anger. What are you angry about at 150 hertz? Because the emotional state is hatred. You're going to hate things. You're going to hate people. You're going to hate places. You're going to hate yourself. You're going to hate things about everything. And you're antagonistic. You challenge everything about life because you're finding so many things that you hate, living in a state of anger. It's a contradiction to how you should be functioning. And it actually blocks you from your purest highest potential. Now, if you're blocked in any of these lowered ones here, okay, the lower bottom ones, the red, the orange, the yellow, well, don't think that you can be operating out of acceptance for yourself and willingness to learn and neutral to all if you're sitting in a lower state of shaming, blaming, guilting everybody, angry about everything, scared of everything. It is the worst thing and a contradiction to who you really are. So, right here, when it comes to your pride, well, when you're coming from a place of pride, you're running on an energetic frequency of 175 hertz. That's not the proper frequency to be correct in your skin at all. You need a 369 hertz in the root. In the red area, you need a 369 hertz. Now, every one of these chakra points has their own unique frequency that must be maintained for optimal highest potential in your being and in your manifestation of your reality for whatever it is that your heart desires. So if you're living in a state of pride, well, the associated emotional state is scorn. Your view of life is demanding. Oh, it just takes too much. Everything's so demanding. You got excuses for everything. The but. Well, why do they want this from me? Wah, wah, wah. Okay? Straight up. Well, I'd like to say courage is your tipping point to tap back into your love. Now, if you can see here on the chart, courage is the tipping point because it is the frequency of 200. And this is why, once you have the courage to take a look at your own consciousness and where you are operating from, you can actually release everything of lowered density vibrations, which is all of what's below the courage. So what's below the courage on this map of consciousness developed by David R. Hawkins? Well, below courage, you have pride, anger, desire, fear, grief, apathy, guilt, and shame. Well, until you have the courage to look at all of that within your being and accept that that's a part of you and how you're functioning, you cannot correct it. Well, that's the truest distortion of your being because you will not feel safe. You will not feel free to express your creative self. You will not have the get up and go as in the yellow. Okay? So the red is for safety. The orange is for creativeness and sexuality and even our sexual organs. These all have organs associated to them also. Okay? So if you're not going to feel free to express yourself in your sexuality, which we're all sexual natured beings, you know, it affects everything. It affects everything. Whether you're secure in your being or not, whether you can express yourself sexually healthy or not, or if you're craving, desiring, lustful things that are not healthy and not feeding you wholeness, it's actually stealing from you. So it's either one or the other. So like I was saying, courage is the tipping point. Now, what's the tipping point really? The courage is to take a look within deep. And that's why you got to go inside your own being to take a look at what you have stored within your being. Do you feel safe as an individual? Or do you not even trust your own being? Do you feel free to express yourself sexually and create? And when I say sexual creation center, that is our birthing center. So we birth our truest heart's desires, which this is where they're birthed, in our sexual center. And then they're fueled with our willpower up to become a truest heart's desire, which then gets pushed through the rest to manifest. Okay? So if you have a distortion in your sexual center, you've got a distortion everywhere else. If there's a distortion in any one of these centers, none of them works right. None of them. This is why you got to have the courage to look at yourself and nobody but. It's got nothing to do with who did what to you, who said what to you, who made you believe what. It is about what are you embodying today as who you believe yourself to be. because that's all that matters. It doesn't matter who's thinking what about you, talking what about you. It is what are you talking about yourself, and what are you fueling into your existence for yourself, and also what are you believing to be right and real about who you are. It really, really affects everything. So the courage to look inside gives you that associated emotional state of affirmation. And your view of life is it's feasible, that there's a possibility. It's feasible for you. See, and this is why courage is the tipping point. Because no matter what you felt below that, with the courage to release all of that, well, then you immediately activate your heart chakra and you start operating from love, because you have brought your frequency up. Now, how did you do that? Well, you rid yourself of the lower density vibrations. You put light in the dark, and you rid yourself of what shouldn't have been there, that is actually weighing you down and your frequency down. See, that's how it really correlates. But when you have the courage to look at it all and to rid yourself of it and understand you are not your shameful experiences, the guilt that was pushed on you or that you manifested within your own being, because it not only has to do with what others did, it is what we do to ourselves primarily, okay? So once you have the courage to look at it, well, then you can be neutral to it all to fix it. And that's where the neutrality comes into it. And that's where the healing and the acceptance and the self-love actually starts, is when you detach and become a neutral party to your experience, factually. So being that neutrality is trusting, okay? It's trusting yourself, trusting what the heart is telling you. This is the neutrality that I talk about within your being that nobody realizes. Well, now I want you to see it. And the neutrality and how I stay neutral to all, so I'm affected by nothing. Well, this is the neutrality that I'm talking about. And the trust that I live with. And I am very satisfied with my experience. You see? That's love-based operations. The basis of being able to love is governing it with the neutrality, but fueling that by courage. So if you want a real understanding of this chart, you've come to the perfect place today. So now, once you've realized that you can trust yourself instead of trusting what everybody else has made you believe, well, then you're going to become a higher level of frequency with your own willingness to say, hey, I can do this. You're going to be optimistic about the things that you can do and the things that you can manifest. And you're not going to leave yourself limited by shame, guilt, fear, judgment, all of that stuff that shouldn't be involved. So your willingness to be okay within your own being secures you into the safety of your being in the hertz of 310 to begin your journey of self-awareness and self-discovery. Factually. Because if you do not bring your frequency up to at least the courage point of 200 that tips the scale for you, you can't do the rest of the work. Because every lower density is governing you, but your courage to change, the neutral to it all, and the willingness to make it happen. See? So why are you blocked from your own courage and your own neutral and your own willingness to change is because of all of the anger, the pride, the desires, the fear, the grief, the apathy, the guilt, and the shame that you are embodying that blocks you from knowing who you truly are and loving yourself. So that's why it's so important to get rid of it by conscious choice. So if you need to be in a 369 hertz to fully function in your own conscious awareness of your root and be safe in it, in the energy of your being I'm talking about. I'm not talking about your body. This is all energy based. This is all state of being, which governs everything. So everybody that wants to tell me it doesn't matter what state they embody, well, guess what? That's all that really matters, is the state that you embody. Because all of your results are produced from that initially. It's everything that you think, say, and do about yourself and your own self-awareness, your self-consciousness, and your accountability to yourself and your consciousness is all that matters. And I say that open-heartedly, truthfully. And everybody else seems to think, no, what my family thinks matters. What my bank account tells me matters. What my friend just said about me matters. What they think about me matters. I'm not going to be loved or accepted. I don't like this about myself. I don't like, why are they doing that to me? Okay. All of that shit is producing something in you. All by your free will of choices of speaking and believing any of it. And believing that any of it matters to begin with. Because nothing matters more than you do. Nothing. It's merely an experience. And as long as you give meaning to everything but yourself, well, guess what? You're also giving them the life force, your life force with the permissions to govern your being. Nothing else matters. And what nobody else thinks matters either. You're having a unique experience. And if you're governed by your heart, in your neutral zone with the willingness to know who you are and the acceptance of who you are, well, then you're not living in any other state than being satisfied, hopeful, and harmonious. And the associated emotional states with that is trusting, being optimistic, and forgiving. Because all have their free will. Just like that song goes, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Well, that should have been rewritten. Forgive them, Mother and Father. Because we all talk about the Father, but we've all neglected the Mother, and she's a huge part of the whole creation. But I can't wait till everybody awakens to that. Anyway, I'll get onto that topic about the divine feminine and masculine after this. So now, unless you've accepted yourself and have the willingness to do so and love yourself wholeheartedly, well, then you can never be truthful in your throat chakra of who you are and stand firm in it. So you will never be the voice of reason, of frequency of 400. Associated emotional state is understanding. So you cannot share a meaningful view of the world or of life or of knowledge without the associated, what this here seems to be, is the understanding of your being. So in order to get to the point where you can speak truthfully about who you are as a person, you have to love and accept yourself. You have to have the willingness to accept who you are. And if you don't, well, then everything blocks you from speaking the truth about who you are. So what does that force you to do? That forces you to lie about yourself. You're either telling the truth or you're not. And if you're speaking from a place of beliefs, well, then you're lying, because that's all lies too. And I hate to say it, but it's facts. So unless you're speaking from the heart, you're lying. You're lying to yourself, and you're lying to everybody who listens. And that's why I don't like to listen to anybody talking shit. I shut that down in a heartbeat. I can't be bothered. If I wanted to listen to shit talk, I would watch TV, and I don't do that. So you know what? Not interested from another person either. That's why I quickly correct the state of speaking and the vocabulary involved when it's in a conversation with me. And there are many people that can attest to that, because yes, I cut people off from what they're saying because they're speaking destructively about themselves and about others. And I am not going to absorb that or embody that or have to transmute that shit constantly in these dead ass conversations that are of destruction. I'm not about that at all. Not at all. Not at my level of consciousness, which I will pull up after this one, and I'll show you the level of consciousness that I'm at. But this is going to lead to your full-on understanding of where you are as an individual. And it must be said and known today. And I abide. So once you're safe in your being, what does that mean exactly? Well, to be completely safe in your being and to be able to love yourself, you must be able to hold a frequency of 369 hertz in your root chakra. So 369. You have to accept yourself fully to be safe. So have you accepted yourself fully? Or are you sitting there going, well, I don't like this about myself, and I don't like that about myself, and this is a problem, and that's a problem, and everything's a problem but your own state of being? Well, that heavily affects whether you're loving yourself or not. And I am so tired of hearing these self-love coaches talk about self-love, and they have none. Had to be said too. So, in order to move up to be able to speak the truth about your being and accept yourself fully, well, you have to hold the frequency of it, or it's distorted. So what is that? The voice of reason, the voice of love. Okay? In order for you to frequent at a 500 hertz of love, well, you must completely accept yourself. So if you can't love yourself, like I have been saying, you factually cannot love another. You are incapacitated to do so. So this is why I tell you guys, trust the energy that shows up in your life for what it is. And when somebody's telling you that they love you, what are they telling you they love you from? From their heart, or for their inability to love themselves first? And that's quite apparent to see whether one truly loves themselves or not. And that is really what determines it all. Just like it takes love for yourself to heal yourself. Well, what's that inner healing power that we all have? Well, it's the love that's fueling us. But if you're distorted and not even accepting the love that's fueling you for your own being, well, then you are killing yourself. Simple. So this is why it's important for people to get it today. Fully. I don't care how raw it is. And if you guys don't want to hear and you insist on feeling, well, that is of your choice. And I respect your free will and your choices. And that's all I will say to you. But it will not affect mine. I'll tell you that. So let's talk about the higher frequencies before I bring up another pull up here. Now, if you can speak with a voice of reason and you can hear yourself, well, then your emotional state is understanding. Because you understand who you are. You understand the love that's in you. And you have also understood and mastered forgiving yourself for all the underlying emotional states. See? So before you have a full reasoning and vocal point and can operate out of love and reverence, You must forgive everything below that. And I've heard way too many people say, oh, I can't forgive. Well, guess what? You're fucked then. Because you're the only one that's doing it to you. Nobody else is doing it to you about your choices, about what experiences you want to hang on to as your meanings of life and your creations of your self-identity. And you think that is what has constructed you to be you? No, that has taught you a hell of a whole lot and nothing but. And that's where you become neutral to it all. From that point of voice of reason and your understanding of forgiveness of everything else, well, then you can have something meaningful in your life. And then you can attach meaning to yourself, that you mean something in this world. But until you get to that point, I highly doubt you're feeling like you're meaning something to the world or to yourself. And that has to change. Well, let's get back up to love, 500 frequency, because this is an important one. I've been talking about the natural purge on the planet, and I talked about the elimination of the weakest, and I just talked about whatever is inhabitable according to the frequency of love of 500. What cannot occupy that frequency will be wiped out. So yeah, your life, your lineage's life, and humanity basically depends on you stepping up your game right now. Well, not for me, because I know what I've done for me and my lineage and for many other lineages for this rewriting of humanity. While still holding the frequency, no matter how much I have been humiliated, blamed, judged. Listen, I understand at the point of consciousness that I am that is just a projection of all that they feel and they're holding, and that's rotting their insides, not mine. I've been there, I've done that. I lived all of this and it poisoned me. Drove me to total organ shock, total septic shock, total organ failure, 16 hours to live. For what? For embodying all of the wrong frequencies and states of being and consciousness. So, if you can't occupy love within your heart, a 500 frequency, which is still an elevated state from being secure in your being. So if you can't love yourself and you can't love others, well, you can't operate from a frequency of love because you are actually shackled to everything below it. So, reverence, service to the world. Okay? View of life is benign. Okay? We're going to elevate it a little here. So, everybody wants to be joyful and claim that they're a joyful being. Well, do you see where joy hits on this conscious scale? It is a frequency of your being. Okay? It is not something that you acquire from buying a new car. It is not something you acquire from buying a horse that you... Never mind. Tobi, be quiet. It is not... You don't get joy unless you're holding and embodying the frequency of it. Well, where does it primarily stem from? For your own being. So if you are not loving your own self and your life, you will never feel joy. And all of these false claims of all of these reputations that everybody's trying to uphold with all of their paper rewards and their awards and their so-called bullshit statuses, they better focus on their states of being. Because I smell that shit across the ocean. And that's what it smells like. Shit. Masked. Well, can't be hidden from me. So everybody wants that inner peace? Well, you don't acquire inner peace until you can get to the frequency of it of 600, which is bliss. Your view of life, it's perfect. Life is perfect because you can consciously create anything you want. Okay? Well, when you get to the stage of enlightenment from 700 to 1,000, there are many different levels of consciousness within that. But the Supreme Ultra is below the 12D consciousness, which is the 1,000 hertz. But actually, it's a little false anyway. But there's a lot of other added numbers onto that, but that's been cut down to keep it simple. But no. Anyway, that's a story for another day. Again, this is just that image to assist, to teach you all. But even this, I know about the alterations on this, and I know what numbers should actually be there in the energetic frequency. So, what's your emotional state in enlightenment? Ineffable. So your view of life is. In other words, you just be. You are just a being of light, as I am. I am a being of love. I am an expression of the highest creation for this grand awakening of humanity and the reset and the shift of the planet. And I emphasize that because you would think with all that money that one has, she would have known better than to say that to me. But all that money won't save her state of consciousness. I'll say that proudly too. As I also know that there is no weapon forged against me that shall ever prosper. So now that you guys have a full understanding of the map of consciousness, well, let's really talk about this map of consciousness on a different level, right? Because this is your awareness of self and nothing but. So, you know what? I'll take down this right now. And I would like to show you all something else. Now, your thoughts produce things. Now, this is a chart in front of me now that how your thoughts produce into matter. Because our thoughts create things. All right? So now, there's one field of energy. There's a oneness, it's source energy, and this is the observer of all creation. Well, we are also the observer of creation because as above, so below. So, everybody, everyone, everything, everywhere, every time. See, this is a chart from Dr. Joe Dispenza. Now, the conscious thought, when you're thinking from a conscious state. So in other words, when you've cleared your path to consciousness, that is actually the David R. Hawking scale of consciousness is actually Jacob's ladder. So you must climb Jacob's ladder to elevate your state to the highest potential of your being, to be totally consciously aware of yourself and to consciously create and co-create with source that is fueling you to do so. So as long as you're believing anything but the truth about yourself, well, then you're consciously creating all the lies that are stuck in your head. Simple as that. Why? Because a conscious thought from a conscious state produces a whole thing. So, like I've been telling you guys about thoughts create things. Well, your thoughts and your words are breathing in things to life, into your existence. So it's very important to know this. So you better understand your state of being to understand what you are creating in your thoughts and outside of you, in your reality. And you can't blame or shame anybody but your own self and your own patterns for being the way you are. And no, you aren't just that way. You've been produced to be that way by the programming, by believing everything that you were told. No, don't be like that. No, you have to do it like this. Oh, you can't act like this. You must govern yourself like this. And if you don't do it, you're going to be reprimanded. There is going to be a consequence. If you be who you want to be, there's always a consequence to not being authentically who you are supposed to be. I want you to be more quiet. I want you to be more this. I want you to be more that. This is all we ever heard growing up by anybody in our life. Well, your thoughts, depending on what they are and the energy that you put into it, can create bliss, freedom, joy, appreciation, and gratitude on a higher level of your frequency. When you have become nobody, no one, no thing, nowhere, in no time. So it's not becoming like this. It is actually going back to this state, because that's the state we were born in. You lived like that for almost 2 years before you were conditioned to believe something different. So your truest, highest potential of your being, running authentically you and in perfect balance and harmony, has to do with the direct correlation that you are nobody, no one, no thing, nowhere, and in no time. And you are in right now and nothing but. That's the purest form of your potential and the highest potential of your being, where everything knows what it has to do without you getting in its way. Now, what happens? Well, do you see the patterns? The down over here on the left hand side of that, where you see under the speed of light, it'll see patterns. All right. Well, the lowered brainwave thinking that produces the effects on the other side. So you are still thinking in the lower form of thinking when you believe you are somebody, you believe you are someone, believe you are something, somewhere, and in some time, which none of it has existed. It is all a part of your belief systems. So the only place that exists is in your own mind, and it's unique to you and what your ego has created you to think and believe you are, and nothing but. So what does that mentality of being somebody, someone, something, and somewhere and sometime affect you? Well, it causes you to lust. It causes you to feel pain. It causes you to feel like a victim. It causes you to feel like you're suffering. It also causes the shame, the guilt, the fear, the anger, the need for control. Why does the need for control arise? After all of those lower density vibrations, because by then your body's totally in a state of distortion. And you have a sincere need to not only control everything outside of you, but your heart is longing for its control back of your being initially. And that has a lot to do with why we allow everything else to control us outside of us, is because we do not know how to control our own state within. So it all starts within. If you cannot control your state within, you cannot control your state while you are dealing with anything outside of you. It's as simple as that. Well, this identity of somebody or someone or something or somewhere also influences your power struggle with yourself and your life. Well, it also affects your willpower. So everything about your self-identity and the state that you choose to embody really does affect every single experience within your reality of that day. Factually. So this is the huge importance of why one must take a serious look at what they choose to embody and what they choose to believe to be right about themselves. And I say it all the time, and I've been saying it for a very long time. But nobody's taking me seriously. So before I finish with these overlays, I'm going to add one more so that you can honestly understand states of consciousness that are not on Hawking's scale of consciousness. Okay, and I'll just cancel that because I'm live. So actually, I will just shut that down. Excuse me for a moment. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to take this down, but I'm leaving it up for a minute just so you guys can actually see the thought to energy to matter. Okay, because energy fuels your thoughts, but your thoughts are converted into speech by energy and your state of being, and it produces real results in your life. Now, on this one here, it goes up to on top, it says enlightenment, 700 to 1,000, but there's a distortion there because you guys really don't understand by looking at this, the different levels of consciousness when you get to the top tiers, and you need to. And this is, excuse me, spiritual burp. Okay, so this, it's going to cover me completely. It's going to cover the whole screen. I know that because of the layout of it, but this is something that you guys really need to take a look at. So you're going to hear me speak behind the picture, behind the chart, but it's very important that you guys take a look at it. All right, so let's talk about this. All right, so as you can see in the third dimension, well, this is the third dimensional way of thinking that we've been shackled to for centuries. So the shame, the guilt, the despair, the grief, the fear, the desire, the anger, the pride. Well, Mother Earth has moved into the fourth dimension now. So she's no longer embodying a victim abuser consciousness on her. Now, if you look on the side of the self-identification labels that are in association with your levels of consciousness, well, you're living in a state of hell at the bottom, as you can see, if you're living in shame, guilt, despair, grief, and desire and anger. And even in the purgatory phase, you're still in your lowered self. You're in a lowered self. What does that mean? You are lower than the cap of consciousness that you need to thrive. So that means you're in a downward spiral and you are living in hell, feeling like a victim or abusing the shit out of everybody, including your own self. So now that we've moved up to the fourth dimension of the way of life on Earth and this humanitarian shift, well, what is this all about? It's about, for the self-identification, you're talking about the rational self. And it's all about self-empowerment, believing in your power, believing what you can do, accepting, loving, being neutral to it all, accepting your inner light, accepting your inner wisdom before you can climb to the new humanity consciousness of the fifth dimension. So now this is a huge, huge, huge image for you all to understand Mother Earth's new operational frequency. Well, the frequency that will be embodied for the new Earth consciousness and new humanity, everybody must know, is one that is operating from the fifth dimensional state of consciousness, which is owning your inner light, owning your inner wisdom, owning your inner love, and running on a oneness, self-realized paradise, functioning from your higher self of being in your planetary self. This is why everybody must understand that it is elimination of the weakest. So anything below that fifth dimension density, well, everybody has a choice to climb Jacob's ladder to get to the new humanity consciousness that I have been talking about that will flood the earth since last September. It's like I've been offering you all a safety boat and you would all rather drown. Well, you better get up to the times, because there is a new humanity consciousness here and very effective in rewriting humanity right now. Mother Earth will ascend to the fifth dimension and operate from it. Anybody who cannot reach this level of consciousness upon ascension will not ascend with her. And quite clearly, shouldn't be given the rites of passage to either if they haven't done the work to do so. Everybody wants a house. Well, you got to build that house. You got to lay the foundation. You got to draw the plans. You got to figure out how you're going to do it. Well, you want to ascend with the planet and be a part of the greatest shift in humanity? Well, you better get up to the times with your consciousness. And what is consciousness? What is it that you know to be real about you? Self-accountability, self-aware of everything you think, say, and do, and create consciously, fueled by the whole universe. So now I'd like to give you guys a little bit of knowledge about who I am. Well, I have surpassed. You see, look, you see the state of heaven, which is above new humanity consciousness? So the presence, the non-duality, the universal consciousness, the great void, the divine grace and love, the supra-casual trust, is that truth? And then the full consciousness. Well, those are all of the ones that aren't depicted in the Hawkins scale of consciousness. Well, if you look over here on the left-hand side, you're going to see the self-identification of it all. Of your higher self for self-realization. And this is why I tell people you awaken to self before you awaken to source. And it is two different scales of consciousness, and you must work for it. So once you embody your higher self, well, then you have to meet your planetary self and then embark on your creation of a heavenly state, when you use all of the forces of the universe to assist you with doing just that. To become your whole, healed, absolute, authentic, truest nature and highest potential of your being, which is then a heavenly state of consciousness within yourself and for outside in your reality, no matter what you are living. Now, with this image on this screen right now, you will see a visual image of exactly what I mean about turning your hell into a state of heaven. It is a level of consciousness. It is not just the title of my first book. And I would like you all to realize that tonight more than ever. So if you are interested in committing to the new humanity frequency right here of consciousness, but you're sitting here in a state of hell, but you'd like to be up in the heavenly state of the fifth dimension, new consciousness, well, you can easily do that by taking your hell here and turning it into a heavenly state, transmuting all lower entity energies and everything into a higher state of being for your highest good. And get out of this victim abuser consciousness state. Factually. So, I will encourage you all again today to figure out what state you are in for yourself. Are you sitting in a state of hell? By what you choose to embody? I highly suggest you don't choose that for yourself any longer. Because all weaker lowered frequencies that cannot embody the 500 frequency of the fifth dimensional new humanitarian consciousness, it's elimination of the weakest. Well, at my frequency, I damn well know I'm not being eliminated in this process. How many others can say that? Well, I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to help you. And if you would honestly love for yourself to rid yourself of that state of hell that you are choosing to embody by choice alone, which is fueling every single thing you do, turning hell into heaven, okay? An inspiring personal journey as an empath and light worker. This is why my book is called Turning Hell into Heaven. It is a state of being shift according to your consciousness. Written, influenced by the map of consciousness. Again, hidden in plain sight. How many of you have been aware of this book and haven't gotten it for yourself? Thinking that it isn't what it is, stuck in your belief systems. Well, your best you and all the targeted work is exactly to reinforce and to help you get out of believing that you're in a state of hell, assisting you to solidify your heaven by choice. All has to do with consciousness and all of the pre-existing knowledge on it. But this is like a modern day Book of Enoch. Wise Up to Rise Up teaches you about your frequencies and what affects your frequency and what happens to you running on a lowered energy. Well, I'm really sorry that it took for a 2-hour live for me to break down consciousness for you to realize what my books are about. Because as I have been hidden in plain sight, just as Moses was with the Pharaoh, well, I highly suggest if you want to turn your state of hell into heaven, well, your first step to doing that is going and getting my books. Because I'm, again, also tired of everybody reaching out to me for all the knowledge that they want, but they can't pick up not one of my books where all the knowledge is. So, if you want the knowledge, go get my books. And if you want a real pie to eat to fill your heart, you need to go get the last book that I wrote. A spiritual guide to source, an all-knowing resource. You guys think for 1 minute that I don't have better things to do with my life or my energy than to sit and rewrite humanity? Well, I have nothing better to do with my life than to shift this world and rewrite humanity. So everybody thinks whatever their belief system is, well, guess what? I'm here to annihilate your ego and bring you back to heart-based operations out of love. And if you can't do that for yourself, well, guess what? I respect your free will and choice to destroy your own being. And if you choose to destroy your own being, well, good riddance. Because you don't deserve to be on New Earth. And I'll say that proudly too. I didn't come up with any excuses, so I won't accept another. Simple. I don't play a game. I don't play around. And I take this rewriting of humanity very seriously. I walk it, talk it, breathe it every waking moment of every day. And there is not another like me on the planet. And that was confirmed to me today, too, from my boss. And this is why I was channeled to come out here and drop it the way I did for you all tonight. And I really hope that it shifted and disrupted and distorted your current ego-based belief systems that are trying to protect a false identity of who you believe yourself to be. Well, when you're really ready to tap into your authentic self and your truest power of who you are and operate from that, reach out. But until you're just as committed to your own highest potential as I am committed to mine and the rest of the world's, I don't have time to play with anybody. Because the trumpets have been sounded. And we have all been in training for this exact moment. Oh, and a special shout out to the one that personally told me in my face that I'm not here to shift humanity. You're soon going to feel what happens to somebody that challenges the Most High and his works. And do I feel sorry for you? Not at all, because that was your free will and choice too. And when I told everybody last year that I'm here to shake all the money trees of all of those who have $1 million operations based on energy harvesting and dream catching, I'm here to shut you the fuck down too. So just know that. So yes, where you have seen me and where I have been, well, if you're not operating correctly, I'm here to shut you down. And I have orders to do so. And I obey. And I listen to my calling. And nothing but. And in the meantime, I love you all. And I wish you all all of the love humanly possible. Because there are so many that are going to need it more than they ever realized. Money can't buy you to be loved in this world, eh? Money can't buy you to love yourself. I can't wait to see the end of this shift. But it's happening fast. And so is the elimination of the weakest and the natural purge on the planet. So you better get right with yourself. And I'm not here to put fear in you. The fucking system we're living under is inducing that on you. I'm here to rip you out of it. So you've got a simple choice too. I love you all. Peace.